Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Kirloskar Pneumatic Company Limited 2Q FY22 post-result conference call hosted by Antique Stock Broking. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Dhirendra Tiwari from Antique Stock Broking. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanvi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to the second quarter FY22 post-result conference call of Kirloskar Pneumatic Company Limited. To discuss results and outlook, I am pleased to have with us today Mr. K. Srinivasan, Managing Director, and Mr. Suhas Kolhatkar, CFO, along with other members of the team. First, I congratulate Mr. Srinivasan and team for continued strong performance. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Srinivasan for his initial remarks. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you, and let me thank Mr. Jitendra Bhai for hosting this. I'm going to request our Company Secretary, Mr. Jitendra Shah, to first read out the safe harbor, and then we'll go to the call.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all. The presentation uploaded on the website and discussion on the financial results during the earnings call may contain statements relating to future business developments and economic performance that could constitute forward-looking statements. While these forward-looking statements represent the company's judgments and future expectations, a number of factors could cause actual developments and results to differ materially from expectations. The company undertakes no obligation to publicly revise any forward-looking statements to reflect future events or circumstances. Further, investors are requested to exercise their own judgments in assessing various risks associated with the company, and also the effectiveness of measures which taken by the company in tackling them as indicated during the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra. Once again, good afternoon to all of you. Let me at the outset wish you all a belated Dussehra greetings and early Diwali wishes. May this year be a safe and a happy one for all of us. Q2 was a quarter when we delivered record number of compressors as a whole in spite of serious challenges with availability of controllers, which really comes from the chip shortages and several other components. But an absolute number of compressors, this was a record, all-time record. We had more than 30% higher compressors made and sold during this compared to any other time. With nearly the entire workforce fully vaccinated, the COVID-related disruptions was finally behind us. We have no COVID cases in the company and its associates. Unfortunately, delivery and commissioning of projects continued to be delayed and impacted due to the sites still not being ready. This is across India. This is expected to ease with Q3. With strong order inflow and order bank as of 1st October of above 1,000 crore, we are well poised to do significant numbers in Q3 and Q4. The company delivered on its promise of compressors for the oxygen plants across the country. This was very important for us. We proudly delivered the largest number of large capacity compressors among the various companies for this application. Today, our compressors are spread across the length and breadth of the country and can deliver over 500,000 liters of oxygen an hour. This activity will continue through Q3 as we have further order inflows coming in. In the gas and refrigeration space, we had good order flow from overseas projects. With oil and gas prices going up, newer projects were under discussion, and this is getting stronger in terms of our order bank. CNG gas package deliveries were impacted due to gas engine shortages, again coming from chip shortages. However, the order flow in this too has remained strong, and we expect to step up deliveries in Q3 and thereon. Sales for the quarter was 226 crores as compared to 147 crore of the previous year. A notable feature of this quarter was the stronger sale of compressors as an equipment as compared to compression systems. This makes the business less lumpy and more predictable. The company made significant progress in its development of screw compressors for refrigeration systems and booster compressors for the gas daughter stations. These products will hit the market next year. The road railer business had a new impetus with galloping diesel prices. The Chennai-Delhi sector, which is what has been allocated for this business as of now, is running full on both directions and is now being cash positive. This clearly demonstrates the viability of this business. We expect that with the Gati Shakti initiative and multimodal transport that we offer, along with road and rail connection through the road railer system, this solution in terms of both efficiency and lowest environmental footprint will be seen as something that can make a big difference to the transportation sector. More players and more routes are likely to be opened up, and the company will manufacture and deliver road railers to all of them. The order bank remains strong, like we said, at over 1,000 crore, and we expect significant part of this to be executed in H2. The company is accelerating on its capex program as we have committed in F22, and we are getting prepared for growth through F23. So far, we have committed 22 crores of capex in H1, and we will complete the program as scheduled in H2. Inventory was higher at 66 crore, with the reduction in receivables by 87 crore compared to the beginning of the year, and with increase in advances from customers by 56 crore, the overall net working capital was actually down by 58 crore compared to the beginning of the year. The company continued to support its vendor base by reducing payables by about 20 crores during this period. The net cash generation from operation was 32 crores. This is netting off our capex as well, and consequently, the quality of earnings remained very strong. Now, let me discuss a little bit about the various business product lines. The air compressor business now is fully established, with the screw compressor being designed and built by us at our Hadassah work. We deliver most of the high kilowatt screws for the PSA plants in India and going forward to other plants abroad as well. The reciprocating compressor business, which is our forte, continues to be strong, and we have order inflow from air separation plants, steel plants, LPG bottling plants, etc. The centrifugal compressors, which is a focus area for us with the repositioning of our gear business to address this, has delivered significant quantities during the first 2 quarters, and we have established an advantage over competition in this business in terms of performance as well. Refrigeration compressors and systems. During this quarter, we delivered several packages for food processing and meat processing plants in India. There has also been a pickup in the sales of ammonia compressors for the cold chain and ice plants across India. Exports from MENA countries have revived. This was down last year, and now it's picking up, with again the oil prices going up and the economies in these countries doing well. We executed orders for vapor absorption chillers to the pharma and paper company paper mills during the first and second quarter. The order inflow continues to be good in this space as well. Process gas compression systems, PGS plants. The sales of CNG packages were impacted due to shortages of gas engines, as we said in this quarter. However, the situation started improving by September. We started getting gas engines now, and we hope to catch up on deliveries in Q3. The company continued to run the CNG installations across the various states of India on a 24/7 basis, and this is a major business opportunity for us. Several major projects, including overseas projects, are in advanced stages of execution. With this increased inventory of Q2, we expect to complete most of these projects in Q3. Overall, the compressor market globally, though impacted still with various shortages, is actually seeing a strong pickup in demand, and we expect to benefit from this. In terms of outlook for Q3 and Q4, with the strong order bank and with several projects under various stages of implementation, we will deliver double-digit growth both in top and bottom line. We will update our position as we go forward. But we say on a longer term, we remain committed to our aspirational target of being a 2,000 crore plus company in the next 3 years. Now, can I request Suhas Kalatkar, CFO, to take us through the financials, please? Suhas?
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, let me extend all of you a warm welcome to this call and greetings for the festive season. I'm sure you and your relatives and colleagues have taken adequate care to protect from the effects of pandemic, which is behind us now, and enjoying a good health. By now, you must have gone through the results which we posted on BSE website after yesterday's board meeting, and also the presentation which we have uploaded on the company's website. However, for the benefit of those who probably did not get a chance to have a look at those results, let me summarize the Q2 and H1 financial performance of FY22 of Kirloskar Pneumatic. Apart from sales of other usual products, which we generally do, supply of screw and reciprocating compressors for generation of oxygen to treat the COVID-19 affected patients continued to contribute to the top line growth in Q2 and in H1. Sale of CNG compressors, as MD said, also contributed to the growth in the top line. There had been some delays in the supply chain which impacted the volume that we were anticipating. Growth could have been higher in Q2 had there been no delays in the supply chain. Based on the order board that we have, we expect a growth trend to continue in the third quarter also. And CNG will play a significant role in that as well. We are aware that the first quarter of the last fiscal was practically a washout due to COVID closures. So therefore, H1 results may not be directly comparable with that of the previous year. However, Q2 of CY has shown growth over corresponding quarter of the previous year when similar business conditions such as issues in the supply chain, etc. existed, but no closure. Having tracked and analyzed the company's performance during the earlier years, most of you are also familiar that the company's quarter-on-quarter performance gets influenced by the mix of the product and projects. Most of the projects get executed in the third and fourth quarter, and as such, extrapolation of the current results for the year-end estimation may not be appropriate. On this background, I would like to present Q2 and H1 results of the current fiscal. The top line registered a growth of over 52% as sales for the quarter rose to rupees 226 crores compared to 147 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. With half-yearly sales at 395 crores, H1 showed a growth of about 74% over the previous year. Growth in other income represents return on increased short-term parking of funds and dividend income on the long-term investments, resulting out of the short-term parking of funds resulted out of our net cash inflow. Material cost was at 54.2% as product mix was significantly different than the previous year. However, this percentage is in line with the annual cost percentage and comparable with the industry trends, if not better. The rise in employee-related costs represents a liberal increments and promotions given to all deserving employees who stood by a difficult period of pandemic during the last fiscal. As a result, employee costs rose to 63 crores compared to 53 crores. An increase in both the quarters is more or less similar. This represents roughly about 16.2% of sales as against 23.4% of sales of the previous year. Previous year average ERE cost or employee-related cost stood at 14%, and our endeavors are to bring that cost to that level, if not lesser. You would recall that company had availed a loan of 40 crores of rupees in the last quarter, and this is also been given in their published balance sheets of the last quarter of the previous year as an abundant precaution to take care of any financial need just in case it arises due to COVID-19 disruption. We believe that current financial position will permit us to repay this loan in advance. Finance cost, therefore, because of this loan is higher by 1.4 crores compared to 0.5 crores of the previous year. We'll take appropriate decisions to either repay or continue with the said borrowing in the near future considering the money market situation growth plans of the company and the financial needs for the second half of the current fiscal, when the volume of production and the activities will go significantly higher. At this juncture, I would like to state that the company had a net cash position of about 204 crores as on 1st of October 2021, after paying dividend of 22.5 crores declared in the last AGM and almost 12 crores of expenditure on the capex. Depreciation is in line with the previous year and additions to assets. As MD briefed you that we have plans for capex of about 50 crores in the current fiscal to support our growth, and over 23 crores or 22 to 23 crores have been already committed so far. 12 crores is what we had actually spent and capitalized. Consequently, there will be some impact on depreciation in the coming quarters depending upon the date of capitalization. Other expenses are a mix of fixed and variable costs and are at 19.7% of sales compared to 22.4% of H1 of previous year and 18% for full year 21. There is no significant variation in level of expenditure, and cost controls that we exercised during the previous year continue in the current year also. EBITDA, as a result, in the current quarter showed a growth of over 44% compared to the corresponding quarter of the previous year. EBITDA remained at 11.4% in the Q1, Q2 and H1 compared to just 8.5% of H1 of previous year. With top line growth coming in the subsequent quarters by execution of projects, we believe that annual EBITDA will improve further. You would recall that our annual EBITDA for FY21 was 14.8%. PBT for quarter 2 in current year jumped over 83% compared to the PBT of Q2 of previous year. For H1, PBT was at 6.4% as against the break-even in the last financial year, which shows a clear swing of over 25 crores of rupees compared to the previous year. PAT consequently remained at 4.7%, also showed a growth of about 18 crores over the previous year. Company issued 11,100 equity shares during this quarter and 90,600 shares in H1 under employee stock option program. Consequently, pair of share capital has marginally increased from 12.85 crores to 12.87 crores. Non-annualized EPS has improved to 1.77 rupees for Q2 and rupees 2.86 for H1 compared to just 0.92 or 92 paisa and 4 paisa per share in the corresponding quarter and a half year of the previous year. You are aware that our paid up share capital value of the paid up share capital is rupees 2, and we have got up to H1 in the H1 a EPS of 2.86. Company's non-current investments resulted in net unrealized gain of rupees 16.2 crores in H1, and that is represented in OCI of the current year. With about 95% of the revenue coming from the compression segment, it remains the only reportable segment. Previous year's figures have been regrouped wherever necessary to correspond to this reporting. The segment earned a profit of 15% in Q2 and H1 of the current fiscal. Transmission setup now supports centrifugal and reciprocating compressors business, so it's not a separately reportable segment anymore. Order booking for the first half was about 540 crores against 350 crores in the previous year. As a result, company has an order board of over 1,000 crores, as Mr. Srinivasan explained, as on 1st of October 2021, compared to just 900 crores in the previous year. To support the execution of this strong order board, company has built adequate inventory considering its execution schedule. Inventory level was at 167 crores compared to opening inventory of about 107 crores. We added almost 60 crores of inventory for supporting our ongoing projects activities and ramp up of production. Despite this inventory level, the supplies outstanding has been brought down to 127 crores compared to 147 crores at the beginning of the year. We have a strong receivable management in place, and it has been working satisfactory, which has resulted in reduction of over 87 crores in the receivable position in H1. New order flow has also improved the advances from the customers by about 55 crores. As a result, net working capital has been reduced by about 58 crores and the net cash improved by 32 crores. This improvement in the cash is post-dividend and post-capex. Capital employed in the compression segment has been reduced by about 32 crores, and this is what is reflected in our net cash flow position. During the quarter, as most of you would be interested to know, 45% of our business was from the projects, as against conventional 60% in the year, and the balance was in the earlier years, and the balance was from the products. With more product sales in the first quarter, company could pass on the impact of commodity price, which is being felt, the pressure of which is being felt by most of the industries. To some extent, we could pass this burden to our customers by increasing the prices in the market. It may or may not be possible to do so in the coming quarters, as sales from the projects will pick up, which are at fixed price. This may see some impact on margins in the coming quarters. So I think with this, I have covered the results of both Q1 and H1, and we would now take any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Bhagesh Kagalkar from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Congratulations for a good set of numbers, sir. But going forward, just to touch your point, the commodities, the raw material to sales has increased quite sharply in first half and in Q2 also. So what is the trend? Because you have touched that for the fixed projects, it's not really possible to pass on. So what is the percentage of the fixed projects now? And in the newer order book, how are you negotiating in view of the competitive intensity?
See, projects generally tend to have cycle time anywhere between 7 months to 12 months. So generally these are competitively priced based on a tender basis. Consequently, we would not be able to increase prices once the orders are taken. So in a way, it reduces margin. But having said it, we have factored in cost pushes right from the time of quotations in most of these cases. The big push has come largely in copper, consequently in the motors, in the iron and steel, which has really pushed up all our castings, foundry material, etc. It is also coming up now increasingly in the controllers, electrical panels, electrical switchgear, and a whole lot of things. And so some part of it would have to be absorbed in the larger volumes that we would produce, because we will not be able to pass it on any further. So that is the way it is going. It is going to be tough, and that's what Suhas had mentioned. The first half had the advantage that we had flipped between equipment and projects. We generally are 60 project, 40 equipment and spares. We actually had the reverse in the first H1. But H2 would actually flip around because a lot of projects are going to get executed. So there would be some pressure in margins in the second half, in spite of very significant growth in volumes and margin and size, scale of business.
In terms of capex, to achieve the 2,000 crores target in the next 3 to 4 years, this will be the intensity, the 50 odd crores per annum.
Our capex intensity of sales is relatively modest. We tend to get about 4 to 5 times capex as sale. So our existing infrastructure, with a few balancing equipment itself, can turn out anywhere between 1,500 to 1,600 crore. So we think we'll be comfortable by a capex, modest capex going forward to do our 2,000 crore.
Okay. Thanks, sir. That's all from my side. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Sir, my question is on margins. One, the operating leverage factor seems not to be playing out for the size of the business that we're executing. Some comments there. And second, in your opening comment, you mentioned on one side that higher business will drive margins versus 14% last year. And you are also commenting on, material costs rise. So, which one is what we should take and consider?
I will just put it in a different manner. The margins on the EBITDA would improve by the volumes. While we might have a little higher material cost for the sales in H2, the sheer volume growth would get our margins at the desired level. So if we have got about 14.5% EBITDA level in the last year. Our endeavors are to reach to that level as well, despite the higher material cost. Mr. Srinivasan did mention about the rise in all the input costs that would affect our material costs. However, the volume growth would give us margins at the overall margins growth.
Okay. Then so far, why is the operating leverage factor not playing out, sir?
It's a matter of volume, right? It's a mix between product and projects.
Okay.
We had about 400 crores sales for the first half. And if you look at the sales of the last financial year, those were about 823 with about 10.2% of PBT. We have already crossed 6% of PBT. So volume has played to some extent in improving the PBT percentage, if you extract that.
Okay. Some of your peers said is at about 17% margin. Can we look at it as a reference for our business?
Come again?
Some of your peers said is at 17% margin.
Yeah.
Over years when we improve the volumes, can we directionally head towards those margins?
Yes, directionally we are heading to the same, towards that only.
Okay.
Because
second question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, please complete, sir.
No, go ahead. I mean, what we are always see with the aspirational target of 2,000 crores and the fixed overheads remaining more or less same level, we should have a better margins coming in the future.
Okay. H2 for us last year was where we did a lot of booking. In your comment, you mentioned that there were two contradictory comments. One was a base and one was also fact that you will grow in H2. So which one is the more referable guide that we should take?
I didn't get your question because one is order booking and other one is sales.
Yeah, H2 generally tends to be about 60% of our total business. So we should get a larger sale in H2. The material percentage of the sale actually goes up when we execute projects, but the sheer volume would allow that the EBIT margin would go up as well.
So we will grow in H2, right? That's how we are putting forward on our revenue side.
Significantly grow in H2.
Significantly. Okay. And my last question is, sir, last call we said that the oxygen compressor, the air oxygen compressor business should be about 200 crore and it will sustain. Am I right there? And what is the size of our gas compression business now?
We didn't specifically mention a 200 crore number in terms of for us. I think the industry itself for oxygen compressor could be even bigger than that. As far as the gas compression business, we will be approximately about 45% of our total sales. Our air compression business, not oxygen, our air compression business has moved up from about 15 to 18% to about 25% this year.
Okay, that would include oxygen as well.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much and all the best to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jaideep Merchant from Janak Merchant. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. Sir, I have two questions. One, you mentioned that the export order booking has been good. If you can give us this number. and there's a good amount of cash on the books, and even assuming the good growth, given your prudent working capital management, are we going to have this cash on the books, or there's any other opportunities either to distribute or to deploy this money?
Yes, we will have.
I'll answer both your questions. First is Jaideep on the export orders. I think we would probably have by end of this month about 100 crore of export orders, which would be the highest ever as far as export is concerned. So that's looking good. But I must add that a lot of this is projects and will not be completed within the end of this accounting year. Some of them would go into the next year. That is as far as export orders are concerned. As far as cash and deployment, I think the company has always been very prudent. Our requirement of capex is fairly modest, but there are always opportunities for inorganic and for improving our value chain advantage. We would continuously look at how judiciously we can deploy this.
Right, sir. So just an additional follow-up to the first question. Can you talk about this export business just a little more in terms of what kind of orders we are getting? Is this all related to the oxygen part of the business?
There are two parts in exports. One is the traditional equipment export, which is really the bag compressors that go out. We don't directly do oxygen compressor export because most of the export of the PSA system actually goes as a complete package, which means the exporter eventually have our compressor and he will do the export after he bundles it up along with the separation plant so that it becomes an oxygen machine. So we sell into this export market. Bulk of the orders that we are picking up now are for oil and gas projects in the Middle East and MENA countries, which is including North Africa.
Okay, sir. Because the export has been flat for many, many years, we have seen this kind of number after a long time, sir. If we are seeing this number,
you will see the physical numbers as sales only during the next year. What you will see is the beginning of this coming in. Order flows are coming. Like I repeat, these orders will get executed over 7 to 12 months.
Right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal S. from BNK Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good afternoon and congratulations on a great set of numbers and thank you for the opportunity. Sir, my question again is around export. I mean, how do you see? What is the kind of export opportunity that we see in terms of where can the share of exports be in 5 years for us?
Yeah. So since Kunal, you are tracking this industry, you would know that there are two sets of export that happens out of this industry. First is the equipment, the compressor that is exported. This generally is based on pricing and distribution. We are fairly modest in this. This is what we were trying to do in the earlier parts, and we are not growing this part of our exports. What is growing for us is the project export, which means we deliver complete compression systems, be it for gas, be it for refrigeration, including the system, design, installation, commissioning, and a certain level of upkeep and maintenance. So this is where we see a competitive advantage, both in terms of the knowledge of designing it and as well as packaging it, installing it, and running it. This is what we are taking to the export market. The initial break-in these projects are always difficult because you need to have what is called as proven track record, because these are plant critical processes. You cannot send something unless the customer or the EPC contractor is 100% convinced that our packages would meet his requirements, both in terms of performance and safety. We have crossed this hurdle in the last couple of years. We will see this scaling up going forward. The good news is the orders have started coming in. The executions will start. Some part of it will happen in Q3, Q4, but it will continue into next year as well as we see it today.
And sir, is it right to assume that of the global export market, projects will be a larger part of the market?
This is a difficult question if you talk about global market size, because markets report generally that compressor sales, project sales are generally not reported as separate numbers because this will go into the EPC contractors. Compressor business itself, like I said, if you include all kinds of compressors, including comfort compressors, etc., is a $80 billion plus market. It's huge. So projects are not specifically specified anywhere, but it is significant part of these compressors. The large sizes are generally now packaged and sold as a part of the plant, so which goes along with the EPC contractor's delivery. Particularly if you're looking at newer areas, if you're talking of getting more into the hydrogen compression and other things, this would all be eventually sold only as projects.
And sir, my second question is pertaining to the domestic market. Which are the areas of pockets of green shoot, or where and which end market is showing better demand traction?
Today, all the sectors are showing good traction. Oil and gas has come back very strongly with the kind of prices you're seeing for the liquid fuel. I think gas has come very strongly. Newer emerging areas where we are seeing activity not yet translated into big numbers is in the biogas. There are nascent inquiries even abroad for hydrogen compressors, etc. So this is a business that is scaling up very rapidly because of clear shift in the way energy basket is being envisaged for the future.
Okay. And sir, lastly, how should we think about the margin profile over the medium term? I mean, is there any levers for us to improve our margin further? We will be bettering our last year's margin this year, because of the scale and. But are there still some cost levers or pricing levers left which can take the margin up directionally up?
See, this is a very difficult question to answer in one simple sentence because we have multiple project segments within it. But we are being relatively more modest in terms of our margin growth aspiration on a shorter term basis. We are driving for larger market share. If you look at the larger baskets where we play, like the CNG basket, CNG is largely driven by tendering and by pricing. It is predominantly bipolar. It's not more than or duopoly, I would say, but really there are a couple of other players as well. We are mindful of not trying to put up prices very aggressively in these markets and still would like to keep market share.
Okay. So there has to be a balance.
Yeah. So otherwise you will unnecessarily get everybody into this market.
Right. Sure. Thank you so much, sir, and best of luck for the future quarters.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, if you have any questions, please enter star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Shivam Thrasher from SPL Managers. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir, I want to ask that, I want to ask a general view, like you're speaking about everything in detail. I want to ask a general view that in the past industrial revolution from 2003 to 8, we saw a tremendous growth of compressors in the industry. Do you see any signs or early traces of that kind of industry demand picking up in India right now, according to your knowledge?
The compressor requirement is picking up with industrial activity. I cannot put a specific number between 2003 to 8 versus what we're going to see 2020 beyond, but it is largely driven by industrial activity. This is the standard air compressors as we talk. I must be careful that we are not a very big player in this market in India. There are bigger players than us. Our share of this industry is modest, but this industry is scaling up and picking up. But having said it, we must also say this is an industry which has got an abundant number of players, both domestic and traders who are importing, and that continues in a large scale. It's a very competitive, low unit price market, and it continues to grow.
Okay, and so one more question is that on the city gas distribution side, are you getting some opportunities being backed on that macro thing, the bigger thing?
I didn't get that question fully. Can you please repeat it?
Yes, sir. The government policies of national infrastructure pipeline and city gas distribution. So, is there any benefit of traces from that policy from your end?
See, the city gas distribution is done through an auction process. We are having the 10th round of auctioning that has just been completed. And this is going on for quite some time. There has not been any major significant change as far as government policies in this is concerned. But what has now added on is something called the, for the biogas, which is also now being under SATAT scheme. Biogas producers can feed into the OMCs through the city gas pipeline, of course. The OMCs have been mandated to buy biogas at 46 rupees a kilo, and that keeps changing. And that is through the SATAT scheme that has come in. I don't know whether you're talking about this. That's a relatively newer one. But the other city gas thing is now going on. This is the 10th round of bidding that's just been completed.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
11th round is going on now.
11th round has been opened.
Sorry, the 11th round has just been opened, I must add.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from the line of Digantaria from GreenEdge. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you for the opportunity. So my question again is on the CNG opportunity. So, sir, our product, I think there are only two players, right? You and Atlas Copco are the leaders here. Sir, but I just want to understand that the quality requirements which would have been specified by, say, the CGD company or the contractor who has taken up the contract from the CGD company, would, the cheap imports from China, and would those kind of quality products fit into those criteria, or it's very difficult that, these cheap imports can come and take away ours or Atlas's market share someday?
As far as the specification of the city gas distribution pipelines and the requirements of CNG packages, I think the specifications are extremely rigorous, and it has got multiple steps, not only technical specs, the process of execution, testing, commissioning, and post-commissioning operation of these on an ongoing basis. So there is definitely a requirement to operate out of India. It can't be done just by trading. Having said it, we must be mindful of the fact that markets of this scale and size and the speed at which it is growing and almost completely driven by large OMCs, there is definitely a strong pressure to have more and more suppliers into it. And quite a few of the new entrants are people who are scrapping around and getting things together. I mean, they could buy a compressor from XYZ to some local manufacturer. They could do some assembly, and they would still probably manage to qualify. So we must be mindful of the fact that this will never remain just a two-player market. There will always be other people trying to get into it, and so we would be careful about it.
Okay, sir. So, and this selection of compressors, which company to select, is it done by the, or rather, your contracts are awarded by, say, the Indraprasth Gas or the CGD companies, or the contractors who are building the gas stations and the pipelines? Who actually ends up paying you for this whole work?
The CGD companies. This is all done by specification is by the CGD companies, payment is by the CGD companies.
Okay, sir. And is there any last question on this, sir? Is there any preference for Make in India, or is that something mentioned in the contract that Indian company should be preferred or something? Because I think in the past, in the pump sector, we saw a lot of cheap Chinese exports, and then the government policies changed, and then the Indian company started doing better. So is there anything which protects and Make in India kind of manufacturer over others?
There is no absolutely open specification that it should be made in India, but the way the whole thing is structured in terms of design, installation, commissioning, and upkeep going forward for 10 years, unless you actually make them in India, you have no chance to be in this business.
Right, sir. So, okay, that's it on this. And if I can ask one more question, sir, what's the progress on the screw compressors? How good has been the acceptance, and where do you think we can position ourselves in this large market?
I think I started this with the first thing saying that we have now the finest screw compressor running in the country for the larger capacities, like 775 kilowatt and above, and we have a high share of this operating in the market. Our screws, in terms of both reliability and efficiency, have established themselves, and it's on the back of this that we are now getting screw compressors also into the refrigeration segment as well, which we expect to launch in the next year. Our screws are doing very well. Short answer.
Right, sir. So thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vijay Kate from Branston Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Currently, our mix of revenues between air, refrigeration, gas, and gears is at 25, 25, 45, and 5%. So at the sales target of 2,000 crores, where do we see this mix moving?
Tough question, sir. It's extremely difficult at this. Like I said, between last year to this year, our air segment has scaled up at least in the first H1, and we see all segments growing. So we see big opportunities in the air with our screws settling down and scaling. We see big export opportunities both in refrigeration and gas. So it is the easiest answer to say that broadly it will still remain in the range of about 30, 25 and about 40, 45.
Got it. And our business, as you had spoken during the last conference call, is not capex intensive, but it is a little working capital intensive. If I look at the working capital to sales, they have been between 18% to 20%. So moving ahead also, it will remain the same. And where can we see the trade receivable day settling?
We have to look at it a little differently compared to any other business. In our business, there is no intermediary. Our products are directly installed and commissioned by us. The equipment sale, which is really what we sell as the KC series of compressors going into the refrigeration business, and some spares alone go through a distribution, which I think total would be less than 10-15%. So 85% of our business is directly from Kirloskar to the customer. There is no intermediary in between. Consequently, this is a business where you will see a significant amount of advanced bidding. You will see order cycles are varying between anything from 6 weeks to 12 months, and consequently there is going to be inventory. There are a couple of other models people work on, saying that, let's say, for projects they do stage dispatches and then they commission it overall. We have not found that a good method for reliability. We do the entire package, we do the testing at our plant, and then we dismantle, ship it, and commission it. We find it far more efficient, far more reliable, and far more predictable for the customer. Consequently, our model is actually driving our inventory being what it is. There is still, having said all this, there is a bit of inventory that will be taken off when supply chains get more predictable. There is a certain level of inventory that can be reduced, better process management in terms of our inventory planning and so on. But that's not going to be significant. The big change can only happen if we change the business model, and we will think it through. At the moment, it seems efficient for us and reliable for us, and we will see how to handle this.
Got that. And beyond the 8,000 CNG stations and the 6,000 crore opportunity, what's beyond that? What's next? And who are our customers in the CNG package business?
The CNG package business goes to the oil marketing companies. I think all the city gas distribution companies, all of them are our customers. It could be GAIL Gas, it could be HPCL, Torrent Gas, and a whole lot of them, Adani Gas. So a whole lot of them are there right from Indraprastha Gas in Delhi onwards. So everybody is there, Gujarat Gas and a whole lot of them. So that is as far as our customers are concerned. But to answer your first question, the CNG gas is now it's becoming some kind of a gas economy base. So what is being targeted is 15% of the gas would have to be over a period of time biogas, which will be mixed with this. So there is an opportunity on which we are working on biogas, which is also what we have mentioned. There is a later down the line an opportunity to get more into hydrogen. At the moment it's WIP, we're not talking about it. But even in the CNG, there is another compressor system called the daughter station booster, hydro booster compressors. We have said that we will enter this business from the next year. Protos are being developed, tests are going on, and we hope to enter that in the next year. In terms of size or in terms of numbers, that would be as big as the CNG business.
Sure.
Just a minute.
Yeah. Just to add, Vijay, to what Mr. Srinivasan said, I'm sure you must be tracking the PNGRB site where you get the details of various rounds of bidding. I just want to draw your attention that up to 8th round of bidding, PNGRB 92 GAs were allotted, covering about 124 districts, and in the 9th round of bidding, about 86 GAs were allotted, which gave about a requirement of 4,300 gas stations. And for the 10th bidding, there were 50 GAs with 3,500 odd stations. So the 8,000 numbers that we always been speaking about were covered under 9th and 10th bidding alone. Now in the month of September, just last month, 11th bidding tender for the 11th bidding has been released, which covers 65 GAs. So we expect another 3,500 to 4,000 gas stations, CNG stations would come up maybe in next about 7-8 years time. This is in addition to about 8,000 numbers which are required to be completed by March 29, end of March 29. So that's the opportunity in CNG alone.
Good. Thank
you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Shah from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. My question was more on the order backlog side. So when we look at on a sequential basis, our order backlog is more or less flat, and we endeavor to reach a revenue target of 2,000 odd crores. So, sir, just wanted to understand which are the areas which can help us, ramp up this order backlog somewhere in the range of 1,500-1,600 odd crores, which will help us to deliver 2,000 odd crores of revenue. So, where do we see the growth opportunity coming in, and how do we see our order backlog shaping up from the current level of 1,000 odd crores?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think what we wanted to convey with this order backlog is actually last year there was a bit of a piling up for non-execution. But this time we are executing in the first half and still we have orders a little more than what we had in the last year. So orders actually been flowing in well. Our execution cycle in the first 6 months has been much faster because of the equipment sales. So we expect it has to be a healthy balance. We want to have an order backlog which is approximately equivalent to about 6 months of our sale. We don't too much because then we are not able to balance our pricing and other things. So we are comfortable with this order backlog. We have actually, as we speak, significant orders still coming in. So orders are strong. At 1,000 crores still we should have about 1,000 to 1,500 crores order backlog at the most. Beyond that will be very difficult. We are trying to get our execution cycles better, and that level of order backlog should be reasonably good to manage.
And sir, which are the areas which can help us improve? Execution is one thing which will definitely help us reach the 2,000 odd crores with 1,500 odd crores of order backlog. But where do you see significant ordering happening? One is the CNG thing or the CGD gas pipeline thing. But barring that, which are the other areas which can help us, ramp up this particular order backlog?
See, the order backlog per se would come from project exports. Projects generally have longer cycle, like I keep saying, gas systems, refrigeration systems, all of them where we have packages which we deliver between 7 to 12 months actually creates a pipeline of orders. Today, we have only been doing largely in India. First time we are picking up major orders for exports, and that is where pipeline is going to build up.
So over the next 1 or 2 years, can we expect this export orders to be somewhere in the region of, say, 300 to 400 odd crores?
That's what we are planning at the moment. See, like I said, this year we will definitely have an order booking in exports of over 100 crore, which is our first target, and we will achieve that. We are almost there. And if this starts moving in the way we are expecting it to, then we will definitely see the kind of numbers that you're mentioning.
Okay. And sir, majority of the order inflow would be flowing in from the Middle East region, right, sir? That is our target market.
At the moment, because oil and gas is significant there, second is the EPC contractors and the execution is largely done by Asians, so they require and prefer us. We will see this also happening in the MENA countries in Africa because we compete there against execution from other Asian companies, and we see that as well picking up. But like you said, this is going to be in these kind of countries, maybe Southeast Asia to some extent, Indonesia and other places, but this is not expected to be in Europe or in the US.
Okay. And sir, for the newer geographies, do we require any pre-qualification, or we would be, directly qualifying and we can directly bid for the projects?
No, we have been going through this for the last 3 to 4 years. We need to have a lot of proven track record. We have to show them how we have done similar projects in other sites. It could be in India and other places, and all this is what helps us to qualify.
So my last question was on the screw compressor side. I think that is one of the biggest market in India, and we have been, trying to enter this particular market over the last couple of years, and recently we are getting a success rate over there. So, sir, just wanted to understand how does our revenue mix change over the next 1 or 2 years, because we have recently entered this particular market, and secondly, the refrigeration products that you talked about. How big is that particular market? If you can just throw some light.
Yeah, the revenue mix will not change by too much. Like I said, overall air compression business will move from 15 to about 20-25%. That includes screws, centrifugal compressors, which is also a great product for us, as well as our traditional business of recips. So we all will grow in tandem, and the overall air compression business will grow to about 20-25%. That's a big growth that we will see. The other ones are growing as well. If you look at the refrigeration business, we have been historically giving the ammonia compressors, as we call. These are the reciprocating compressors. Now we are launching the screw compressors, again with ammonia or other refrigerants, again for the pharma, food, and ice plants, dairies, etc. That's another market which could be anywhere between 200 to 500 crore. It's growing in India with a lot of food processing coming in. So these markets would all add to the overall refrigeration business, because refrigeration also is scaling up in defense area, particularly in the ships, submarines, and other things. So none of this would only grow so that the market share shift will not be very big between refrigeration, air, and the gas business.
Okay, sir. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal S. from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes,
hi, sir. I just wanted to quickly understand about how is the competitive intensity shaping up, especially, after the Ingersoll Rand and John Deere deal globally. So are we seeing, more consolidation, or are we seeing more aggressiveness in the market?
It's a question that's difficult to answer from the point of view that we have always been seen as one of the few companies which is doing most of the work in India. We cut our own impellers, which for centrifugal, which nobody does. We are the only people doing centrifugal with 100% our own casting, our own impeller. We are probably one of the 2 companies who do our own castings, our own screws, our own a whole lot of things on the air compressor business. So our philosophy has been to build the business with value chain advantage. Consequently, we would have to look at ourselves as how can we be taking more market share. There are several players, you mentioned a few, there are a lot more, but these are all players where the strategy is done elsewhere and they're executing somebody else's strategy here. They would be.
This is the operator. We have lost the connection for the management. Please stay on the hold while we reconnect. We have the line reconnected for the management. Sir, you may proceed.
Kunal, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very loud and clear, sir.
Sorry. Okay. So we lost the line and probably in the process, hopefully lost a couple of more competitors. So that's the way it's going to be, because we are going to be very India specific in terms of value chain. which is going to make things a little more, let's say, longer time scale to start up. But once we start implementing and executing, we will be far more competitive than others, and we can sustain it over longer periods of time. That's the way we are approaching it, and we expect to be very competitive in this business.
Got that, sir. Thank you for such an elaborate answer, and best of luck, sir.
Thank you, Kunal.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope I'm audible. My question was, sir, during the discussion you mentioned that 17% is the target or the direction in which we want to achieve. Now, would this be driven more by a larger volume base as we keep growing our volume, or would it also be a part of changing mix as exports or some of the segments where we are not present, as we scale them up, they would be better margin businesses than what we are already doing? So just getting some idea on how this trajectory will be driven.
This margin growth will come practically from every side wherever it is possible. Number one, the top line would add to the margin. Secondly, the export business should also contribute significantly to the improvement in the margins. Third thing is that the R&D in the company is continuously working on VA and VE. That should bring down the cost of material, and that should also help in getting the improvements in margins. So margins won't come only from one effect. It would be a combination of several steps that the company is taking. Lastly, the product range that now the company has actually addresses the entire market, be it the reciprocating compressor, be it the screw compressor for air application or gas application or the refrigeration application. So with the products basket now, we will be able to add the different areas where we were not earlier supplying, and these increased volumes would add to the margins further.
Okay. And just one thing, sir, you mentioned that in exports earlier we were selling equipment, but now we are focusing more on projects. This question could be naive, but would this also include EPC projects, and would that be dilutive to what we were already doing earlier, or the project business provides a better margin than just selling the equipment? Just getting some handle on how this works.
Yeah, see, when we talk of the equipment sale, we were largely selling ammonia compressors and some screw compressors, reciprocating compressors. These what we call as largely bare chef compressors. The compressors are sold by us, somebody does the packaging locally. So that is what we were doing predominantly. We continue to do that, and that is also growing. So I must add there, that will also grow. But what we are now entering after a lot of effort, getting the approvals, etc., is to do projects. Here, let's say for a petrochemical complex or an oil and gas plant, we would end up doing either a refrigeration project or a gas compression project. Here, we would get orders from the customer, but the execution could be through an EPC contractor who would have more than this project as a part of this package.
Okay, got it. So we won't be doing the execution. The EPC contractor would be doing the execution, but we would be providing the complete kit to the...
We do our part of the execution. The EPC contractor generally takes the overall execution, but specific to our basket or our product plant, we will do the execution. We will have to deliver it, commission it, and run it.
And the payment would it be right to understand?
Sorry, we got bits and pieces of that question.
So what I'm trying to understand that if the part of the project which we do, the payments we would be directly getting from the contractor.
We would get it from the customer. See, these sub-packages which are of significant size, the customer would order it and he would pay us, but the overall responsibility in most cases would be with the EPC contractor. There are some cases where our project is very small compared to the total, then the EPC contractor would place the order and he would make the payment as well.
Sure. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shivam Prasad from SPE Wealth Managers. Please go ahead.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask on one more thing. I came in the queue. I'm tracking the company from past many years, but one thing that I'm seeing is that the return on capital employed has been significantly low from like if we can say 2014 to till date. Like first it used to be around 30 to 40% in the range, and now it's even below 20%. So is there anything significant that you are doing to improve the return on capital?
He's looking at all the cash in the system. Just give me a minute so we will understand your question better, because I believe our ROC last year was about 22-23%, and we expect to even be higher than that this year. At the moment we are not, but by the time we complete the year, because we generally have a 40-60 split in sales and maybe a 80-20 split or even more than on the profit. So you get back to 24-23% plus ROC in the full year. But I think some of the numbers you're probably looking at is including the cash in the system and of course a road railer business. So we will just see where is this coming from.
I think it would be better if you look at these segment results and look at the segment profitability vis-a-vis the capital employed in the segment. That would give you a better indication.
No, sir, I want to ask that what are the measures that we're taking to, like, if we leave all that aside, what are the measures we are taking to increase the return on capital from this level going on further?
So I think all that we mentioned now actually increases both the profit and the ROC. Like we said, we're not going to put in a lot more capital in this business. It is not a capital intensive business, and consequently the ROC would go up. There is a working capital challenge that we will continue to handle because that's the way the business is being structured as of now. Unless we change that, we would not get a big change. But ROC 25 plus is what we are targeting, and we will comfortably get there.
Okay, company level.
Company level.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. That was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Dhirendra Tiwari for closing comments.
Thank you, Tanvi. Let me thank Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Kolatkar and members of the management team for giving us the opportunity to host you. I would also like to thank all participants for taking out time. Mr. Srinivasan, you would like to have any final words before we close this?
Just a thank you to all of you, and once again wishing you all a great Diwali. And I think I know that numbers from KPCL are always a little difficult to understand and far more complicated because for the size and nature of our business we are moving past. But hopefully from Q3 onwards we'll become a little more predictable. I think a lot of the variables are getting more settled. I think from Q3 onwards we'll get a little more predictable and it will make it more easier to understand our business. So thank you all for your patience.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, all participants. And now we can close the call.
Thank you. Thank you, Dhirendra bhai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.